what's up, guys? Welcome in. We are ready to rock and roll for another one. Hey! Getting everything going here. All these live streams ready to rock and roll. I'm just going to forewarn you, there is zero way that we can talk about everything we need to today on the program. Zero. We could do an hour on every one of these topics and more. So, we'll do the best we can. Getting it going here. Three hours. Yes, 3 hours. That's minimum of what we need in this show. I can't say it yet. We're working on some cool things that's coming up here very soon. It's just when it actually happens, then we will announce. But next month or two could see some things happening. We'll just put it that way. So welcome in. We are live on Podbean. Welcome in. Scott, what's up, brother? We are live on
2 minutes till broadcast.
YouTube and Twitch.tv and not the Instagram, the Tweety, that guy. Also, OpsLens going live now as well with their social media and their website and their app. I tweaked the video feed a little bit to audio so that way we're not getting as much of a buzz, because last week we saw some weird buzz in there. I think I got that cleaned up, so we'll see how the program goes today. Coming up on the program, we have Ronald Gruner on the program with his latest book, We the Presidents, as we talk about how presidents have altered the course of the U.S. history over the last century. Also, we have the Super Bowl, and we have the UFOs. Oh, yeah. Oh, we'll get to all of it. Helps when I bring up my email.
Broadcast.
All right. We're ready to rock and roll here. All right, if you are on the live streams, then welcome aboard. Like it out, share it out. Let's have some fun on the program today. We'll touch and go on a lot of different issues today, as there's a lot to get to. If you're new to the program, then the heck took you so long, man? You can find our podcast also at the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser on any of your favorite podcasting sites. We saw some new numbers on there, too. Some new people jumping on and finding our podcast, downloading it. So thank you for that, and welcome aboard. All right, let's have some fun today, man. Let's kick off a new week. Come on.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin transmission.
Fighting for freedom every day.
Republicans right now, the conservatives, which unfortunately, this is what we have to do every time, even after a vote where people are sick and tired of the establishment, they're sick and tired of the squeezy, middle-of-the-road, squishy kind of Republican rhinos, and we vote conservatives in, then we have to fight tooth and nail in D.C. to actually be heard within the Republican Party.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Darn right it is, man. A brand new week, a brand new day. Hopefully, probably, most individuals recovering from the shenanigans of last night and the Super Bowl 57 officially being all done and wrapped up. Did you watch it? Did you pay attention to it? We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on it today. I have to admit, though, I am a bit discouraged. Got to admit, the most entertaining part of the entire Super Bowl was the actual game itself, which I guess it's supposed to be that way, but I wasn't really impressed with the rest of it at all. The halftime show, no, I'll pass on that one. I did not need to see, who was it, Rihanna? I mean, she sings decent, but it wasn't even her live, as you could see. She'd sing to the microphone, turn this way as the microphone was held the other way, and then it would still be singing in the background. So, no, that was taped. And production-wise, really just wasn't that impressive for, like, the biggest stage in the entire year. When you're talking to millions upon millions of people watching this broadcast, it just wasn't impressive, in my opinion. I did not need to see a bunch of Eskimo penguins dancing around in white yesterday. Which congratulations on the little one having the baby bump. That's cool. outside of that, like, she didn't move around a whole lot. She stood there and fake singed while everybody danced around her. Not that impressive, in my opinion. Commercials? Meh. Remember the days when the commercials used to be the highlight of the Super Bowl, and people would watch it not for the game, but for the commercials, and it really just wasn't that impressive. Maybe I'm old school. Maybe I'm just the whole get off my lawn kind of guy right now and feeling a little bit older, but I miss the days when you would watch it and you would have the Clydesdale from Budweiser, or you would have the Budweiser frogs. Remember Budweiser? Remember those guys? That was classic commercials for the Super Bowl. I don't think there was a single Budweiser commercial during the entire Super Bowl game yesterday. There was a Miller Lite and there was a Busch Light. Now, the Busch Light was entertaining somewhat, as you had Sarah McLachlan singing To the Animals of the Woods. That was kind of entertaining. You had Doritos. There was one Dorito commercial. One. It only played once during the entire Super Bowl, and it was kind of crap. Maybe people disagree with me, but it was a little weird with them doing the whole triangle thing. Very Illuminati-esque, not to put on the tinfoil hat there, but it was very retro, it was very new age, and it was very Illuminati-esque, if I can speak, with the whole triangle fluorescent thing that happened yesterday. Wasn't impressed with the Doritos commercial. I remember when I was at the broadcasting school years ago, trying to get into radio and TV at the very beginning, that Doritos, when they were at the height of their Super Bowl commercial ads, they used to have a competition. For every media broadcasting school out there for radio and TV, all over the country, they would have a contest. And they would give away $500, $5,000, whatever it was. They would give away and have a contest for students at broadcasting schools to come up with the most creative Doritos TV ad for the Super Bowl. And we could potentially win. And I remember doing that competition. We obviously didn't win, but we did that competition, and we tried to find the most clever, unique, fun, out there type of commercial ad for Doritos. And then they would look at it and get these submissions from all over the country at multiple different broadcasting schools from these students that were creative, trying to get their foot in the door in the realm of media. And then they would take it, they would pay them a little bit, and then they would use that commercial and film it and spend the millions of dollars to use that for their actual Super Bowl TV ad. I don't know if they do that anymore because it wasn't that creative in any way, shape, or form, in my humble opinion. Actually, one of the most entertaining ads was the Breaking Bad one regarding a different kind of chip. I don't even remember the name of the chip, which apparently didn't have that much of an impact if I can't remember the product they were trying to sell. But it was another chip with the characters from Breaking Bad. That was it. That was cool. You had John Travolta singing from Grease. That was kind of neat, I guess. You had the Busch Beer one. Really, that's right, the premature electrification. That was clever. Well done, guys. That was probably the most clever one out of the entire night. Was the premature electrification supporting the new Chevy truck that was going to be an all-EV vehicle. And for those trying to transition into the electric vehicle realm, the premature electrification. I applaud you for that one. That was probably the most creative ad of the entire night for that one. You had the cougars in your area want to meet you, like promoting the TV show for the zoo animals or something. That was hilarious. I chuckled at that one a little bit. And then you had probably the scariest one, and I mean scary as in people freaked out, and it was all over my social media, of the Tubi commercial that looked like it interrupted the broadcast of the NFL, which definitely had its impacts because my wife, Mrs. Voice of Reason, looked at me and said, "Andy, are you sitting on the remote? Why did you just change the channel?" And then I saw everybody else comment on there afterwards on social media as well, thinking the exact same thing. So I give them props for that. But the haha, that was absolutely awesome. It's going to be stuck in my brain the whole time. The "What's up?" Remember those 90s ads? Classic. Didn't get any of those that are going to be memorable from 10, 20, 30 years from now to be like, man, you remember that ad? It just didn't happen. I was a little let down from that. The only entertaining part of the actual broadcast was the actual game itself. For a guy who hasn't watched a football game in 4 years, I was actually enthralled with the football game all the way up until the very end when the Kansas City Chiefs, obviously hailing from Wichita, Kansas here, my home state, so therefore I have to support the Chiefs, saw them win by a field goal at the very end of the game. That was probably the most entertaining part. Chris Stapleton did a fantastic job at the national anthem. I didn't get to watch it live because I was trying to figure out how to watch it because my app wasn't downloading properly. But I did watch it afterwards earlier this morning, and I had no interest in watching the Black national anthem that broadcast before the game as well. Outside of that, pretty forgettable with the entire broadcast itself. The commercials, the halftime show, the nice little messaging, the subliminal messaging, if anybody did catch it, at the little tips of the end zones on both ends. They said end racism, which cool. We all support that. Hoorah. But why would you include that in an NFL broadcast for a football game? Of course, they had to put in their nice little political spin to it, which reminded me why I have not watched an NFL broadcast in so many years, because I'm tired of the political messaging from an athletic organization that's promoting non-political issues like watching a sporting event and being able to zone out from the actual world. There's another reason why I watched it, though, that didn't have to do with the broadcast itself, other than what could have been interrupting the broadcast in some way, shape, or form. And for those that have been watching all of these shooting downs of different UFOs, and we use the UFO term not necessarily because of aliens, but because it is an unidentified flying object, the government now using it as UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenon, because they don't know what the hell a lot of these are. We've shot down 4 over the last 8-10 days, whatever. Now the first one being included the Chinese balloon. The other 3 that we're not sure of, we saw one. Here's the crazy part. We shot one down over Alaska. We shot one down over Canada. We also shot one down over Lake Huron in the Michigan area. But there's also been reports of sightings of UAPs or UFOs in Argentina and in Italy over the weekend as well. And I knew it. Now, one of the theories is, for those out there that may not follow this, I love listening to these other talk show hosts, by the way, that just do current events that know nothing about UFOs or ETs or anything of the sort, trying to talk about this issue, because I chuckle as a nerd who studies this stuff and who enjoys it and listens to, Coast to Coast AM and listens to different podcasts regarding actual aliens and ETs, listens to quote unquote experts who study them, who know about different ET races. I think at least I have a general understanding of how some of these guys work, if they are credible in any way, shape, or form. Or the conspiracy theories behind that as well. I enjoy listening to some of these other guys that have no clue what they're talking about regarding ETs and or whether it's drones or UAPs or UFOs or whatever else they're doing. But there was a major reason why I watched the Super Bowl. Is there is a theory out there, and I guess you could call it a conspiracy theory, although I think it is actually public on the FBI and CIA websites for some of the documents that they passed prior to in the years past. But there's a conspiracy theory out there regarding Operation Bluebeam. If you've never heard, put on the tinfoil hat for a second. Let's get into the weird news of the day.
Weird news of the day.
Okay. Bear with me for a second. There is a conspiracy out there called Operation Bluebeam. If you've never heard of it, you can look it up. Another talk show host says, Google it. You can look it up and see what Operation Bluebeam is, which essentially says that the government's going to propose some operation in order to create another lockdown or create another fear or create paranoia in the general public with a staged alien invasion or a staged second coming of Jesus. As you know, the government has well-advanced technology, well above what's available or even known to us in the public sector. It used to be that they were anywhere between 5 to 10 years ahead of us. Now they're anywhere between 300 to 500 years advanced in technology within the government that we have no clue about and that we're not aware of in any way, shape, or form. And according to Operation Bluebeam, that they would stage a alien invasion or the second coming of Jesus based on holographic technology, based on UFOs, based on drones that we have that look like UFOs, whatever. And they would stage this in order to create fear and paranoia, in order to militarize space and create the militarization of space, to be able to lock down and control the population based on this fear base, saying that the aliens are here to harm you. Now, with that being said, and with all of the UFOs, I use that in air quotes again, UFOs that we've seen over the last week, I watched the Super Bowl intently last night because if this conspiracy theory was to come true with this Operation Bluebeam, what better way to scare the entire public and let people know about a staged alien invasion or some type of invasion or some type of UAP aerial phenomenon that we have no clue anything about? What better way to do it than the number one most televised broadcast event of the entire year with millions of people watching? So I was ready, and I was intently watching for the game because the game was entertaining, and coming from Kansas, I have to support the Kansas City Chiefs, but I was watching intently outside of the game, outside of the commercials, outside of the halftime show, specifically to not miss the UFO that was going to present itself at the Super Bowl 57 last night. I was ready. I was ready, and it didn't happen, which kind of shot down my theory right now that Operation Bluebeam's actually in effect. So then we have to go to some other theories about what the heck these things are. The weird part is that the government's not giving us any information. Weird, not weird. We know it's expected. The government, when they finally start talking about something, you know it's not true, because if they start talking about it, you know it's a lie. And now that they're keeping the concept open and not ruling anything out, quote unquote, according to NORAD, regarding UFOs and the existence of ETs and the ETs actually being here using these that we've shot down, the fact that they did not rule that out in a very specified press conference, letting people know what's going on, but yet not knowing anything about this, should be a major red flag for most individuals. And you may have heard this all day long, but here's my 2 cents, because this is a fascinating way to approach this issue. Imagine, if you will, you are an ET coming to Earth for the first time in a spaceship that travels at the speed of light, because that's what you would need to get here because of how far everything is away from each other in the universe. Or faster than the speed of light. There's theories out there that they use the time-space continuum as like waves in a paper. If you crunch it up and you go from point A to point B at a very fast time through black holes or wormholes, or you use space-time continuums in order to travel. Maybe they're interdimensional, as some like to talk about, as there are, according to physics, multiple different dimensions outside of just the 3D world that we see right now. There's at least 12 of them, according to, I'm no expert, don't quote me on this, but there's at least 12 of them that we know of through physics and quantum physics, at least 12 different dimensions they can bypass through time. So therefore, they could be hovering over us right now. We just don't see them because they're in a different dimension, and then they just appear. Voila. You're telling me, if we just assume all of those theories, again, tinfoil hat, weird conversation right now, totally okay.
Weird news of the day.
You're telling me that someone that can pass through different dimensions or can travel at the speed of light, and even some of the, like Bob Lazar, who worked at Area 51 and knew about the element that we just came public with over the last couple of years and practiced supposedly using and maneuvering these things back and forth, side to side with no stopping. You're telling me those are getting shot down by a fighter jet that can only go a singular direction in a straight line at a relatively slow pace. You're telling me that they're that in advance, but yet they got here somehow? I'm bursting my own bubble about the hopeful VTs being here.
Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Andy Hooser here, reminding you not only can you listen to the Voice of Reason on your favorite radio station, but also check out the video of the program on TV and online. We're excited to be working with our partners over at OpsLens to bring the Voice of Reason live every day on their website at opslens.com, on the OpsLens app that you can download on any of your smartphones, or on any of the OpsLens social media. It's a great network that broadcasts multiple shows promoting truth, reason, and common sense, reaching thousands of viewers every day, all day long. Plus, while you're there, you can always watch some of the best highlights of the show during the weekends, or read our latest opinion columns on topical issues of the day. Also, if you want to interact with me during the program, just leave a comment on their social media or the OpsLens app stream. You can always join the live chat rooms, or if it's easier, just email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Again, that's HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. This is your show, and we want to hear from you. Why? Because it's time for you to be your own voice of reason in your own community. Looking for more reason? Well, now you can get even more content from the Voice of Reason through our Patreon site. It's your exclusive membership for being the ultimate Hoosier-holic. On our Patreon, you'll get additional interviews and content that we don't get to air on the radio, behind-the-scenes action from the Hooser Media Network, plus one-on-one video streams where you can catch up with me, guests of the show, and other great Voice of Reason supporters. Plus, you can also support the show by checking out our gear and swag. Find the link on our website at HooserReason.com. Again, that's HooserReason.com. Become the ultimate Hoosier-holic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com, or send us a message through our website at HooserReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com, or find our contact information at HooserReason.com. Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hooserholic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hooser Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com. For a schedule of upcoming guests on the program, daily show topics, or to reach out to the Hooser Media Network, visit us on the website at HooserReason.com. Or for general inquiries, to be a guest on the program, or to have Andy a guest on your program, email us at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Keep fighting for freedom with us every day right here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network. Now, back to the show.
Fighting for freedom every day. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
I know that last conversation probably made a half the listeners' eyes glaze over. Andy, what the hell are you talking about? It's okay. And unfortunately, this is a very sad conversation to be had. I was looking forward to it. I was so hopeful, man. So hopeful that maybe finally we could start seeing some ETs out there. Firm believer, baby. 110%. I know as I know as I know. And I'm ready for them. I'm ready for the introduction on the public scape. But now that the government is talking about it the way that they are, that we're not leaving anything off the table right now. We don't know anything about these things. It's totally open up in the air. Imagine, if you will, we are, whether we like to admit it or not, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good, we are the most technologically advanced nation on the face of the earth. We're probably up there competing with China, maybe a little bit with Russia, although they've kind of seen a few pegs be knocked down with this whole incursion into Ukraine, because if they can't take over Ukraine, that's an entirely another issue and pretty pathetic for them. And all they have is their nuclear button that they're threatening to hit, but they haven't hit it so far. So I would say that out of them, China and the U.S. are probably the most technologically advanced on the face of the earth. So, that being said, you're telling me that the most technologically advanced nation on the face of the earth has zero clue about any of this stuff. We know that they're lying and that they're not telling us the full truth. All we know is that one of the objects was apparently octagon-shaped, which makes people, again, think that it's, ETs and aliens.
Weird news of the day.
I know, right? And as much as I would like to believe that, and I hope that it was that, the fact that they're leaving it they're not keeping it off the table in any way, shape, or form, according to NORAD and their statement and the military, and they're not giving us anything. We know nothing about this. You're telling me with all of our radar and our sonar and everything else that we have, we know zero about this thing. Zero. We obviously saw it. We obviously shot it down. We haven't seen any video of the shooting down, but apparently we shot it down. We have video of that. We had the sonar and radar to know that it was there. We should have some idea of what these things actually are. So the fact that they're leaving it on the table of potential ETs means that the government's probably keeping something from us, and it's not ETs. It breaks my heart, man. Breaks my heart to say that it's not an ET, because I really, really, really was hoping it actually was. So that leaves Operation Bluebeam, as we mentioned in the past, which is the conspiracy theory that they're going to stage a ET, or the second coming of Jesus, in the sky. So that way people are caught off guard with what's actually going on and keeping us distracted from something else, or living in the fear-based, or allowing ourselves to get locked down again, or allowing them to impose whatever militarization that they want for some type of political gain. That's why I watched the Super Bowl. Didn't see the UFO over the stadium there for them to be speculating on and do the vast announcement of some type of Operation Bluebeam. So that one's off the table. So the real question is why they're keeping things so far out in the open right now, and they're keeping it as we have no clue what's going on, means they're full of crap and they're covering something up. The question is what? What's the distraction that we're staying away from here? Is it the investigations going on in Washington, D.C. with the Biden family right now? Or is it just the fact that they're trying to cover kind of the CYA right now, cover your own you-know-what, because of how poorly that they've ran certain issues? When they allowed the Chinese balloon to fly over the country just a week or so ago and complete its entire mission before shooting it down when it got to the ocean, be like, hey, we did it. Now they're trying to be proactive, and whether this is our technology or whether it is the Chinese technology, now they're trying to be forefront with it and shoot it down before it gains any other attention and say, haha, we got it even before you noticed it because we handled the prior issue so badly. Remember the issue and the conspiracy theory about 9/11, how the conspiracy was that the government was involved in it, which seems to be there has to be some credible conversation about that one. But then the conspiracy started about that, saying that the government started the conspiracy about the government being involved in 9/11, so that way they didn't look incompetent with their security measures to stop it from actually happening. So the theory is they started their conspiracy about them actually being involved in it, so they show that they still had some type of power and say in the situation. I'm wondering if this is not one of those scenarios as well. They're starting the conspiracy about the aliens, saying that we're handling it to reboost themselves with confidence after failing to shoot down a simple balloon from China in the first round. Makes you think a little bit, right?
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You know, when I get off the air every day, the battle for me against limited government censorship and even unfactual content is far from over. That's why now I'm so happy to say that the Hooser Media Network is giving you more opportunity to catch the Voice of Reason along with other great shows and podcasts. It's been a long time in the works, and now you can finally enjoy more great content, services, and topical shows. We're the safe space for alternative talk, information, and ideas that the mainstream media absolutely hates. From holistic and alternative medicine, discussions on religion and spirituality, pure entertainment shows, and of course yours truly with the Voice of Reason. Plus, we offer numerous media services, including helping you set up your own podcast. Become your own Voice of Reason and bring your expertise to any fun issue or topic. For information on all of our shows, links to podcasts, each show website or social media link, or to find out about everything we do to challenge the mainstream establishment, visit our website at HooserMedia.com. Again, that's HooserMedia.com, the future of media. Welcome to the Hooser Media Network. It's been a long time coming, and now it's growing bigger and better than we ever imagined. The Hooser Media Network is so much more than just the Voice of Reason. It's a network for you as a listener and you as a podcaster. It's a network for any kind of talk on any kind of topic, bringing podcasters together to give you a new way to think about the world, and it's any type of show from entertainment to educational. Check out all of our great programs, like Dr. Devin Verana with If They Knew.
Yeah, and it gives you tangible tools. I mean, I'm sure she just mentioned that some people might be mad at the government. I just can't imagine.
No.
I think there's a little bit of anger in the world these days, but I was listening to Wayne Dyer this morning, and he said, if you grab an orange and you squeeze it, what comes out? Juice. What kind of juice? Orange juice every time, right? It's not going to be apple juice. It's never going to be mango juice. It's always going to be orange juice. So whatever is in us is going to come out when we're squeezed. And so I'm sure you're learning that, like, taking yourself through this process continually just adds more and more power, more and more depth of compassion and joy and freedom and all those good feeling things, because you're clearing that space out.
Yes, exactly.
I love it. Now take people, so for anybody listening out there that might have an object of anger, whether it's somebody or something or, you know, objects out in the world these days, take us into some tactical, practical things that they can do. Number one, I'm sure, is to come see you, but what are some other things?
So I skipped that one on purpose when I was going through this, but the first book that changed my life, and I listened to it before I signed up for the, I listened to her 1 hour Zoom before I signed up for the class. She was interviewing a man who told us about a book called The Four Agreements. And so then when you get into the class, we study the book called Forgive for Good by Fred Luskin. And we went through a process by Michael Brown called The Presence Process. These are all 3 books. And I hate to be this honest, but let me be this honest. you can read those 3 books and know everything I'm going to teach you. But like any good class, I mean, just because I signed up for a class in college, I buy the books. You really need someone to guide you through them.
That plus tune into Spiritual Smorgasbord with Desiree and Cheyenne.
It is, and we talked about that because then, of course, other things started to happen after that. Of course, that was not my last doctor's visit by no means. However, you know, we talked about it, and I thought, you know, our ancestors were so smart. They know, like, whatever ails us, there's a cure for on this planet. We're just not smart enough to know how to use it, but our ancestors were. We need to get back to that. Modern medicine, basically what that is it is what you get from the plant, the healing benefit, just on steroids with side effects.
Yes.
And so a lot of people, modern medicine is considered sexy. It's fast resolving. It's instant gratification. But, and so like plant-based formula, the raw, natural plant-based formula is what is going to work. It's going to be great. It just takes a while. And people want that instant gratification.
Oh, yes.
So a lot of people try
It's been marketed
something.
to them that way too.
It
They're like,
has.
oh, that's the old way. It's going to take you forever. But if you just take this, you wake up tomorrow and you can have whatever you want.
Exactly.
You can do whatever you want.
But at what cost?
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
My leg is broken, but have some Oxycontin.
Yes.
You know, it's like,
Right.
dude, your leg is still severely broken. You just can't feel anything.
yeah. And it's like, so let's go to nature. Let's see.
Yeah.
You know what? There's pain relievers in nature. Marijuana is a great pain reliever.
Yes.
For one. I mean, you know, just
Mentally and physically.
yes. Well, I mean, you know, but there's other remedies out there. And everything that ails us, there's a cure for on this planet.
This whole room smells like peppermint.
We're all getting cured.
We're all
now.
getting cured right now. It's a beautiful essential oil I bought from a local, I guess you could say apothecary shelf, but I'm getting healed right now.
Yes, exactly. It is. And it's all around us. We just need to know how to look for it. And I'm sorry, but that's kind of what we were discussing. And that kind of was what started this this whole journey. And what I'm very fortunate that, you know, my spouse and I are together on this. It's not just one of us having a spiritual journey. It's
Yeah.
that we're doing this together.
Listen to those shows and so much more on our website where you can find live streaming, links to the podcast, links to social media, more content, and so much more. It's all online at HooserMedia.com.
When Reason Meets Radio. This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Darn right. Welcome back into the program. Thanks for hanging out with us today. I can guarantee you that we probably broke a lot of brains in that last segment. That's totally okay. And I can guarantee you as well, this is probably the most unique talk show that you've ever heard on a political front regarding some of these issues. Why? Because we're an interesting species here on this program. It's all right. I can guarantee you as well that I'm definitely the walking cliche of conservative talk radio. That's that's all right as well. When it comes down to it with these issues, with the UAPs, UFOs, whatever you want to call them, that we've shot down over the last week or so, the government lying to us, like, we don't know anything about them. Yeah, okay. But we're not keeping ETs off the table. We don't know. All right. When you know that they're saying something, you know that they're lying, which means right now, everything that we can do is speculate. That's all we can do. We know nothing about it. We have no information. The government's not releasing any of it. The media is only releasing what they want to, which right now is nothing for them either, which kind of builds up the, intensity and the excitement about it and what really is here. And while, as I said, as excited as I am about an ET connection and contact with us, the fact that the government's even considering it now means that it's not happening. I'm just throwing that out there, that it's not it. So the question is, what's really going on and what don't they want us to know? I personally believe right now, with the little bit of information that we know, is the fact that the Biden administration has handled the whole China balloon thing so terribly that they've had this in their back pocket ready to say, oh, look, now we're shooting these things down before you even know about them. Look how on top of things we are. Because they handled it so poorly, the fact that they allowed the entire Chinese spy mission to happen and then shoot it down in the ocean after it was done and then pat themselves on the back that they did a good job. I think they're getting so much heat that they're trying to recover from that and saying, oh, look, we're going to release these things. Or maybe it is Chinese. Who knows? But they're shooting them down before we even know about them, as they have admitted as well, with the Security Council admitting that China has a really, really intense spying program. Really? We didn't know that before? Man. Really? Blows my mind. We'll get back to some of that here a little bit later as well. I'd love to get your thoughts on some of those conspiracies. But the conspiracy, just like 9/11, where the conspiracy was that the government was involved with 9/11, and then the other theory came about that the government had actually leaked the story of the government being involved in 9/11, so that way it recovers their credibility a little bit with their lack of security measures. Is that what's going on here? Is that now they're leaking their own stories about shooting down issues and creating the scenario to keep you in fear and in dazed and confused states, and then trying to say, well, we don't have any information on these. So much speculation. We could go down so many rabbit holes to discuss it and have some fun with it. But until then, let's shift gears a little bit. I want to have some other fun.
What's trending today?
Let's talk about presidential administrations, not the Biden administration, but let's go back over the last century and talk about the evolution that we've seen in the office itself from president to president, and maybe some of the repeated history that we've seen with many administrations, how they've handled certain issues. To me is a fascinating topic, and I'm really happy to have on the program as we get into our latest with the latest book, We the Presidents, How American Presidents Shaped the Last Century. Excited to have on the program with us here, Mr. Ron Gruner. Ron, how are you, my friend?
Very good. Very good.
Yeah,
Nice to chat with you.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on here. First and foremost, we were talking off the air a little bit coming from the Mid-America region here. Did you watch the Super Bowl last night, and what's your thoughts on that?
Well, of course we watched it, and I enjoyed it. And I have to say, I mean, that the last 2 minutes reminded me of the Patriots. I spent much of my life in Boston, the last 20 years watching the Patriots, and as you know, oftentimes they pulled it out at the very end. So my hat's off to the Chiefs. They did a great job.
Did a fantastic job. I was a little disappointed with some of the commercials, though. Not as, sticking out entertaining as what we've seen in the past.
No, you're absolutely right. Nothing really stuck in my mind as a great commercial.
Yeah. It's brutal. Breaks my heart. Let's talk about your book, We the Presidents. I love this. History is we're the place where we love to nerd out on this program. And we've seen some evolution, obviously, in the administrations, and we can go back all the way to the beginning here. But we do seem to repeat history. It seems like we go through these times where we kind of battle the same issues over and over again, don't we?
No, that's definitely true. And many of the issues we're dealing with here in the United States today, immigration, for example, have been issues that have have surged roughly every 30 or 40 or 50 years within the United States. They come up over and over again, as an example. So history may not repeat itself, but like Mark Twain said, it definitely echoes or rhymes.
Yeah. That is very true. Let's go back to the beginning here, where you kind of start off with Warren Harding, and we even go a little bit prior to that one. But talk about not only technologically advances and difference, but political current events on what happened then compared to what we're seeing today, and some of the similarities that we're noticing.
Well, the book itself goes back 100 years and discusses 17 presidents, starting with Warren G. Harding through Donald Trump. And with respect to Warren G. Harding, he was a president that only was in office for 2.5 years. He died of a heart attack in August of 1923, unexpectedly. He's oftentimes rated, generally always rated as one of the bottom 5 presidents, and I think that's a mistake. He did a number of things I think that were actually quite interesting. One of the most important things is he brought in Andrew Mellon as the Secretary of Treasury. And Andrew Mellon was really the father of supply-side economics. His idea coming into office in 1921 was that taxes had been raised very high during World War I to pay off the war debt, and taxes were as high as in the range of 70 to 80%. And it was Andrew Mellon working with Harding who said, look, that actually reduces tax revenues. If we reduce tax rates down to 50 or even 25%, we'll collect more tax revenues, and that can then be reinvested in productivity and development. So they did that, and that was one of the reasons for the strong boom in the 1920s. So it was really Harding and his Treasury Secretary, Mellon, that were the fathers of supply-side economics, which we, of course, have seen echoing in the 1980s under Ronald Reagan, and more recently under the Bushes, and, of course, under Donald Trump. That's one example, for example.
Yeah, we definitely see the similarities there, because now and that's right around the time, correct me if I'm wrong, that's right around the time where we started doing more of an income tax, where we just take it right off the top of the check before you even get your check, as opposed to just going sales tax because of funding for certain wars, isn't it?
Well, that's correct. I mean, the deduction actually happened in World War II. Before that, everybody filed their taxes once a year. but it was in World War II that they began to actually deduct taxes out of your paycheck. That happened in World War II to pay for the war. That's correct.
Yeah. Really since that time, World War I, World War II, that's kind of the onset of where government really focused on kind of what I like to call the fourth branch of the different agencies, different departments, starting the Department of Education, Department of this, Department of that. We really saw after FDR in the New Deal, as we really saw kind of the expansion of reliability on government. Didn't we? Prior to that, there wasn't nearly as much of that.
No, of course not. I mean, Calvin Coolidge, who was Harding's vice president, inherited the presidency after Harding died, was very much a minimalist in terms of government. Very much reduced the size of government everywhere possible. So we ran significant surpluses in the 1920s. That was both due to increased tax revenues, but even more importantly, to decrease government spending. So government spending as a percentage of GDP came down significantly in the 1920s due to Harding and Coolidge. And then, of course, Hoover came in as president. We had the Great Depression, and the strategy that Franklin Roosevelt had was that if companies aren't hiring, the government will, and that's when we saw the growth of the federal government starting in the 1930s under Franklin Roosevelt. Before that, with Harding, Coolidge, and Hoover, the government shrank.
What was the reasoning and was there support for that, obviously, during FDR with the expansion of government? If the prior administrations, we saw a downside, which blows my mind. I mean, less living in this time, I've never seen the government actually downsize itself. So that's mind-blowing to think that it ever even happened. But what was the cause of that? We hear that it was because of the concerns of, obviously, the Great Depression and people needing certain government checks and needing handouts and needing help during that time. Was that really the case, and did people actually jump on board with it that easily when he was pushing that agenda?
Well, it really was the case. I mean, what happened, we have to think about what was actually going through people's minds from 1929 to 1932 during the Hoover administration. I mean, the stock market collapsed, the dollar collapsed, we had the deflation of the dollar, the Federal Reserve was restricting monetary growth. So people became, and you had, I think, 6,000 or 7,000 bank closures. Banks just disappeared. And that was before FDIC. So when a bank closed, that money simply disappeared, went away. Yeah. And so that caused a tremendous amount of fear. And what happened during the Hoover administration, I think, quite honestly, is fear dominated the whole American culture and American economic system. Companies were not investing. Companies were not hiring. People were not buying. They weren't consuming. And that was just feeding on itself, causing the Depression to get worse and worse. When Roosevelt came into power, into the office, unemployment was almost 25%. Almost 25%. 1 out of 4 people were out of work.
Wow.
And what Roosevelt did was he said, we're going to put people to work with a WPA, building dams, building highways, building roads, building concert halls, building golf courses, just put them to work. And that's what Roosevelt did to begin to get the nation turned around, because companies, frankly, were not doing it and people weren't buying.
Yeah, very interesting stuff. We're talking with Ron Gruner, author of the book, We the Presidents, How American Presidents Shaped the Last Century. You can find it online at gruner.com. You can also find it on Amazon and other places as well. Let's move forward in time just a little bit to right around Korean War, Vietnam War, those issues in the 50s, 60s, 70s. Obviously, I was not around at that time. I'm a millennial. I'm 34 years old, so I enjoy that portion of history, and I find that absolutely fascinating. But it was a time where conflict started happening and we weren't actually declaring a state of war by Congress. Talk about the time frame there and talk about the conversations that were happening in the White House at that time.
Well, I would start with the Truman administration, who basically became president after only being in office as the vice president for 82 days.
Yeah. Actually, hey, Ron, I'm sorry, Ron, I just looked at the clock here. I got to take a hard. Can you stick over one more segment with us?
Of course I can.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Time got away from me here. So let's take a hard break real quick. When we come back, I want to continue that conversation as we go into We the Presidents, the latest book at gruner.com. Go and check it out. Lots more coming up here on a Monday for The Voice Reason. Stay here.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Andy Hooser here, reminding you not only can you listen to the Voice of Reason on your favorite radio station, but also check out the video of the program on TV and online. We're excited to be working with our partners over at OpsLens to bring the Voice of Reason live every day on their website at opslens.com, on the OpsLens app that you can download on any of your smartphones, or on any of the OpsLens social media. It's a great network that broadcasts multiple shows promoting truth, reason, and common sense, reaching thousands of viewers every day, all day long. Plus, while you're there, you can always watch some of the best highlights of the show during the weekends or read our latest opinion columns on topical issues of the day. Also, if you want to interact with me during the program, just leave a comment on their social media or the OpsLens app stream. You can always join the live chat rooms, or if it's easier, just email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Again, that's HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. This is your show, and we want to hear from you. Why? Because it's time for you to be your own voice of reason in your own community. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You want some more reason throughout the day? Well, now it's easier than ever to find. Here's what you do. Check out the website at HooserReason.com. There you can find past shows, links to all of our social media, special features, our monthly blogs, and a heck of a lot more. Plus, make sure to check in frequently, as we're constantly working to add more goodies that you'll really enjoy. Also, you can always subscribe and follow our social media sites for bonus content, articles that we use on the show, or maybe some additional rants. Yeah, it's all that and so much more. Check it all out at HooserReason.com. Looking for more reason? Well, now you can get even more content from the Voice of Reason through our Patreon site. It's your exclusive membership for being the ultimate Hoosier-holic. On our Patreon, you'll get additional interviews and content that we don't get to air on the radio, behind-the-scenes action from the Hooser Media Network, plus one-on-one video streams where you can catch up with me, guests of the show, and other great Voice of Reason supporters. Plus, you can also support the show by checking out our gear and swag. Find the link on our website at HooserReason.com. Again, that's HooserReason.com. Become the ultimate Hoosier-holic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. As we continue to grow as a radio and TV program, we're continuously working behind the scenes to try and bring more common sense and reason to more patriotic Americans all over the country. That's why we're super excited to be working with the OpsLens team to bring you the Voice of Reason every single day. OpsLens is a national online network bringing you incredible content all day from hosts all over the country. And each host brings their own unique experience and expertise to the current events, reaching hundreds of thousands of patriotic Americans daily. Make sure to check out their website at opslens.com. Make sure to download the OpsLens website and follow them on all of these social media sites that you like, so you can watch all of their live streaming content, including ours right here with the Voice of Reason. Plus, if you want more of the Voice of Reason, check out our website online at HooserReason.com. There you can listen to the live audio feed of the show every single day. You can read our monthly blog. You can check out our satire infomercials. You can see pictures of what we're doing, upcoming schedule of events, and a heck of a lot more. On the website, you can find our list of radio and TV affiliates in your area. Find our social media links, and while you're there, sign up for our free newsletter. Over the last 2 years, your Voice of Reason newsletter has grown exponentially. It's completely free, and in it we give you your monthly motivation, upcoming civic holidays for the month, a recap from the show from last month, upcoming guests on the program, along with the latest news from our Hooser Media Network. It's pretty simple. All you got to do is go to the website at HooserReason.com and become the next Hoosier-holic. Finally, follow us on all of our social media sites. With the iron grip control on content from the radical left, unless you follow us, you're not going to be able to see us. It's been an ongoing battle with shadow banning on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, where even our own fans are having a hard time finding our content. But the battle isn't over. We'll continue to bring you the best content we can on as many platforms as possible. You can follow us with the handle at Hooser Reason. No matter what social media site you like to use, you can find us there. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch.tv, Instagram, TikTok, ourfreedombook.com, Parler, and of course our website at HooserReason.com. Don't miss it while we give you a heads up on some of the events that I may be attending or speaking at, updates of behind-the-scene projects, or just something sarcastic to try and rile up the left. The battle for freedom is real, and we want to be part of that battle, as we want you to be your own voice of reason in your own community. Conservative principles happen at the grassroots level, and that's what we're here to help with. And together, you and I can fight back against this virus that's spreading across the nation that is socialist policy, trying to destroy this country. We can bring us back to some constitutional values, some individual sovereignty, and the right for you to be able to make your own choices when you deem necessary for you, your family, and your community. In a world of fake news and information overload, it's time to bring back some reason, common sense, guidance, and a little bit of wisdom. And that's what we're here to do. This is the Voice of Reason.
fighting for freedom every day. The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
I'm telling you, this is why we need more than just an hour program. You get into the middle of something, right in the middle of a topic. It's awesome. And then we got to take a break, and we're almost out of time already as well. A few minutes left here. We're hanging out with Ron Gruner. We have to get him back on the show and talk some more about this as we go along here. Author of the book, We the Presidents, How American Presidents Shaped the Last Century. Ron, I apologize. We cut you off right there as we were talking about the going into the Truman era, into Vietnam and Korea in that time, and really the shift in how we look at certain issues, especially conflicts. And I use conflicts because we never declared an official state of war from Congress, so they were just considered conflicts. Continue on. What was going on at this time?
That's correct. The last time Congress declared a state of war was in World War II.
Yeah.
The Vietnam War, the Korean War were conflicts when they were gave the president almost full discretion to conduct war without the approval of Congress. So that was the last time in World War II. But I think that mentioning Truman and trust in the government and issues going on, I think to me one of the biggest tragedies in the last 100 years was what happened in Vietnam. In the summer of 1945, after World War II was closing, basically Harry Truman made an agreement with the French that the French would be allowed to keep Vietnam or Indochina after the end of the war, as opposed to giving Indochina and Vietnam their freedom. So after the war was over, Ho Chi Minh, who many Americans think of as a great enemy of the United States, petitioned the United States and wrote Truman 3 letters and made a speech patterned around the Declaration of Independence asking for Vietnam's independence from France, and was ignored. Ho Chi Minh was actually a great American patriot for most of his life. People don't realize that he lived in the United States in the 1910 to 1912 region area time frame, and lived in Boston and worked at the Parker House Hotel baking Boston cream pies and Parker House rolls. He was a great American patriot. When World War II started, he came back to Indochina and fought with the American OSS against the Japanese. So it was only after we rejected his pleas for freedom from France in 1945 that he began to drift away. Civil war developed in Indochina and Vietnam. He got support from the Russians and became, quote, a communist. And that was a huge lost opportunity that we simply didn't say to France, look, Vietnam deserves its freedom. They were a great supporter of the United States against the Japanese in World War II, and huge lost opportunity.
Wow. Ron, I could talk to you about this stuff forever. Last question as we kind of let you go. We got about a minute and a half left here as we kind of wrap up. But over the years, the power of the executive branch itself and the White House and the president itself, how has that power grown or dwindled? Now we see more executive orders, and they increase every year based on the administration. Congress passes a lot of the power off, as we mentioned, to the fourth branch of government with all the agencies and bureaucrats. But the power of it from Harding, when you study this, all the way up to Trump and even Joe Biden now, how has the executive branch changed when it comes to the amount of power and ability for them to do things?
Well, the executive branch has increased power, really beginning with Franklin Roosevelt significantly. And a major reason for that is, frankly, Congress doesn't want to be held accountable to make hard decisions. So they've kind of offloaded that to the executive branch. I mean, a good example of that I think we're going to be facing in the next 10 years is what's happening with Medicare and Social Security. Those two funds are basically going to go broke in the next 10 years, and somebody, namely Congress, has got to face up to what they're going to do about that.
Well, that is very true. Then we see the executive branch like Biden right now signing an attempted executive order with the Department of Education to try and do student loan forgiveness programs that you would think, having spending, $2 trillion on something like that you would need congressional approval. And now it's in the Supreme Court to decide whether Congress needs to approve a program like that. That's kind of mind-boggling to me.
I hope the Supreme Court says, yes, Congress has to be involved in that, because they're responsible for the budget. Congress, through the Constitution, is responsible for the budget and federal spending, not the executive branch. And so we'll see what happens on that.
We'll see what happens with it. You're right. We need to start reining in some of that power and redistributing the power back to the evenly between the three branches of government, which is the way it was intended. It's Ron Gruner. The book is We the Presidents. Go and check it out. Gruner.com is the website. You can also find it on Amazon and other places like that. Ron, I appreciate it so much, my friend. We got to get you back on the show and talk some more about this.
I would look forward to it, Andy.
Hey, look forward to it as well. We appreciate that. There it is. Show's already done for a Monday. Flies right on by when you're having fun. We'll do some more of it tomorrow. We'll break some more down. Maybe, just maybe, we'll get some information on the government's investigation on these things they're shooting down. that they can't retrieve, apparently, for some reason or something. Who knows? All that plus some of the other stuff going on with the investigations in D.C. and, of course, the Super Bowl. I want to get your thoughts some more on that tomorrow as well. But until then, be your own voice of reason. Remember, we have the common sense, and we're going to question everything until it actually makes sense, which means we need to educate ourselves. Be that catalyst for change in your own community. This is your show. It's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. This is The Voice of Reason. I'm Andy Hooser. Have a wonderful afternoon. We'll see you on the radio tomorrow. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You know, when I get off the air every day, the battle for me against limited government, censorship, and even unfactual content is far from over. That's why now I'm so happy to say that the Hooser Media Network is giving you more opportunity to catch the Voice of Reason along with other great shows and podcasts. It's been a long time in the works, and now you can finally enjoy more great content, services, and topical shows. We're the safe space for alternative talk, information, and ideas that the mainstream media absolutely hates. From holistic and alternative medicine, discussions on religion and spirituality, pure entertainment shows, and of course yours truly with the Voice of Reason. Plus, we offer numerous media services, including helping you set up your own podcast. Become your own voice of reason and bring your expertise to any fun issue or topic. For information on all of our shows, links to podcasts, each show website or social media link, or to find out about everything we do to challenge the mainstream establishment, visit our website at HooserMedia.com. Again, that's HooserMedia.com, the future of media.